Hello and welcome to Transform Tuesday. I'm Dave McCormick, VP of Products and Services here at Alpha Software. And today we're going to be going over a brand new feature. It's an alpha feature, meaning it's pre-beta. It's also an alpha software feature. We're also joined today by Sarah Mitchell, our head of documentation, and we're here as well to answer any questions you may have. So you can type those questions into the questions box of the GoToWebinar control panel. So I think at this point I am showing my screen. Sarah, can you confirm that just to make sure?
Yeah, I can see your screen. I also just wanted to mention briefly
Fantastic.
your audio got really choppy.
Choppy. All right.
Yeah.
Interesting. Well, let me know if it happens again. Thanks. So today we're going, if you didn't hear the first part, we're going to be talking about dashboards today. So that's the ability to show off different representations of your data actually in the Transform interface. And probably the first question you might have is why? Why are we going to do this? And I will explain that. If you recall, for a lot of you have been with us for a while, I talked about something called the Alpha Field Services solution. And the Alpha Field Services solution was sort of a model application that used Alpha Transform along with Alpha Anywhere to create a complete backend solution for a field services organization. So using that, we had always sort of envisioned Alpha Transform to be part of a bigger system. We knew that people already had backend systems in place, but they didn't have great abilities to do data collection or to build applications quickly for the mobile to create a mobile front end. So we saw that that was where we could really add some value. So we assumed that most people would in fact be using Transform as part of a larger deployment. And for the most part, so far, that is the case. But we are seeing more and more instances in which people are interested in using Transform as a complete end-to-end solution. And as an end-to-end solution, it's got some features that we would like to add to it to make it a more robust sort of end-to-end solution. And one of them is dashboarding, and that's going to then lead on to reporting, as well as certain types of searching and sorting, which you can't currently do in Alpha Transform, but will soon be added. So today we're going to be going over dashboarding. If you attended the Alpha DevCon 2020, about 3 weeks ago, you may have seen a preview of this. I'm going to go into it. I hope that my explanation will be a little bit more easy to understand, perhaps in the DevCon one, but I guess you'll let me know. So let's get started. To begin with, I want to point out again, this is an alpha feature. It's not for production work. And also don't expect that it's going to work completely the way that it works today when it comes out. In fact, we hope it doesn't. We hope it's greatly improved. But we wanted to open up this for you guys to take a look at it and see if there are things that you would really like to have in dashboarding that we haven't added, and to give us some suggestions. Later on, we will in fact have a beta version, and a beta version is one that we encourage all users to try. And the reason is if you have something already in production, when we go to a newer version, the beta version, we want to make sure that everything that you've created still works. Now we have a pretty good feeling that all of your forms and stuff are going to work, but sometimes you might have some tricky TPL or something like that, and we just want to make sure that our coding changes don't break anything. But don't worry, we will give you plenty of advance warning. Usually about 3 weeks is what we aim for you to test out the stuff on our beta channel. And I will go into more directions on how to get into the beta channel as we get closer to a beta release. But just some high-level stuff. There are 3 parts of the Alpha Anywhere system. There's the client side, there is Transform Central, and there is the API. And those 3 code bases can all be affected by an update. Today's update, though, just has to do with the Transform Central side of it, and that's where the dashboarding takes place. You can get to this dashboard. Let me just go ahead and show you how to do that. And if you excuse me for a second, let me just shut off notifications real quick. Done. Usually I remember to do this before I start the webinar. There we go. All right, we'll put that back. Great. All right, so let's go take a look at the live demo. And I'm actually going to take the URL for the demo, and I'm going to paste this into the chat window so that when we end this webinar, you guys can try it out for yourself. Copy that URL. Many of you may already have this URL. It's our standard one for beta. And Sarah, just a quick question. Is the audio coming through a little bit better now?
Yes, it is.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. All right, on to the live demo. So this is the beta version of TransForm, the TransForm Central app. And for those of you who are looking carefully, you're going to see that there's something new that isn't here that you haven't seen in the normal one, and that is a brand new tab called Dashboard. Before I go into Dashboard, I want to tell you a little bit about how my account is set up so that the data will make sense to you when we start doing some stuff with the dashboard. So I'm going to pop over here into the Management Console tab. And in particular, I'm going to take a look at a form type that I have that's called invoices. So here is a whole bunch of invoices, and I'm almost positive that I did an import to create this some time ago using the Northwind database. The data looks awfully familiar to me. So these are invoices that came from that fictional Northwind's sample database set. So they have on them the name of the person who made the purchase, where they're located, the number of items they bought, their company, country, and so on. The date of it, and of course, an order ID. So let's imagine that we wanted to take a collection of records like this and use them in a dashboard. So I'm going to go over here and I'm going to go to Dashboard. And the first thing you're going to see when you go here, and I think yours is going to actually look a lot like mine, and it's going to say Default Forms Report. Now, before we go much further, I want to point out that the terminology that we're using here today, that I'm going to show you, is going to definitely change. For example, this is probably going to be the default form dashboard. And so the term reporting and dashboard sometimes gets used interchangeably right now during this alpha version, but we're going to be a little bit more clear as work progresses. Okay, so here's the dashboard, and I can edit it. It basically has two tiles. It has one tile that shows me the number of forms, and the other one which shows me some of the selected forms. And one of the cool features here is I can actually click on one of the ones here on the list and have an online preview instance. Now, this is a bad example because I don't think I have any fields created here. This is sort of a junk record, but let's go create a different one. Up here, where it says Default Forms Report, you'll see that I have some options, that I have some reports here. I'm going to call them dashboards. Again, I'm already confusing myself with this bad terminology. So we've got a section here called reports. We'll call them dashboards. And there's my dashboards, shared dashboards, and default dashboards. My dashboards are dashboards or views that'll be specific just to me, and I'm not going to share them with anyone else. A shared one is one that you're going to share with other people who share your same account. And default will be ones that we create for you, but we haven't done that yet because we're still in the alpha version of it. So you can create a brand new view of it by clicking Add New. And what it does is it takes a copy of whichever one is highlighted and it makes a new one of those. Now you'll notice there isn't yet a delete button here in this alpha version. So don't go crazy and make a whole bunch of these things because you won't be able to get rid of them just yet. So you'll notice I created one called Copy of Default Forms Report, and this one was called Copy of Default Forms Report because clearly I hit the button again. But you can also rename it. So by the time I got to Copy of Default Forms Report, I decided to give it a better name. So I'm going to pop over here to this one, the Country View Dashboard. And it's basically the same. Notice the number of forms has changed. So why is that? Let me show you. When you build a dashboard, the dashboard needs to know the set of records that you're dealing with. So you don't actually choose all of the records. Well, you could, but typically you're going to choose some sort of subset. So I'm going to click here, Edit, and we're going to take a look at the filter that we used for this one. Sorry, for this one. And I could say, so this is a custom filter, but I could say I'd like to use a predefined one. I could say all form types or all forms from today. With a custom one, I can just start adding records. Now you'll notice I had a whole bunch here, and that's because these are literally all of my forms in my entire TransForm account. So that's not just the invoice one I showed you. That's all of them. So I probably only want to take a look at specific ones. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start building a filter here. So to do that, I'm going to click this add button over here. And I'm going to say the field that I'm interested in is the form ID. I want it to be equal to, and then I'm going to type in invoices. And if I've done this right, and I click save, it should now, yes, it's now reduced it from 840 something down to 829 records. All right, cool. And they're all listed here. All right, that's fine. It's cool. We've got a count here. We've got a list here. But let's say we wanted to do something more interesting, like we wanted to build a graph or something. So you'll see these two tiles. When I move my mouse up over here, you get some buttons here that let you do things. And one of the buttons, this X one, will delete that tile. The left and right arrows will move it around on the screen. The pencil is to edit it. But what we're going to do is we're going to click plus, and we're going to create a brand new tile. So let me go ahead and do that. And what it's done is just simply made a copy of that tile right here. But now we're going to edit it and make it do some different stuff. So let me click the edit button. And I'm going to scroll up. And I'm going to say that this is, instead of just going to be a simple list, I have some choices here. One is called template. And here's a default template, which I could modify. One's called template list, similar. But the one we're interested in today is in chart. And so this is going to be a predefined item type. And we hope to have more item types besides these four, but right now this is a good place to start. So I'm going to choose a chart. And then once I choose chart, I can choose my chart type. Let's be boring. We're just going to choose a bar chart today. All right. And now it says, okay, how should I process the data for the chart? And what I want to do is I want to just display a count for each of the different X values. So what are the X values? Well, right now, one example that they give you is I could say, show me a bar for each, for example, city, each unique city that I find in my data set. And to do that, I'm just going to enter in the TPL expression, which they've even shown us here, city, because my form type here has got a city field on it. And there it is. So let me just go ahead and say save, and we'll see what the problem is. Because you're going to see it right here. And that is, if you take a look here, I can't read this. I mean, I see that it's graphing data, but look, they're all scrunched together. There's way too many of them. So let's go ahead and edit that. And let's say, instead of city, let's go with country for now. Maybe that will fit more easily. Not bad, but it's still kind of squished together. It's not quite as bad. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to make this a little bit wider. So to do that, let me go ahead and say that we're going to set the width to medium. Aha, that's pretty good. And the height, that's fine. I can make it taller. I can make the height medium so it gets a little taller. And I'm going to go ahead and save. And voila, there it is. Okay, that's cool. But you know what? It was probably kind of a cop-out that I didn't do city just because it didn't fit. Let's find a way to make the city fit. So I'm going to go here and I'm going to click edit. And this time, instead of, oops, I'm going to go here and I'm going to click edit. I'm going to click the pencil. And instead of this time country, let's go back to city. And now let's make this large. In fact, that's not big enough. Let's make this 100%. Now, when I go to 100%, it shows you this weird view, but trust me, it is 100%. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to say that I'd like it to start on a new row. I don't have to with 100%. You'll see here it is, it's working. So the new row command meant I'd like you to move down here. Now, this is already a responsive layout, so I wouldn't have had to do that. For example, if I said, just make this, let's go with large, large, and save, it would have, oops, it's hardly a test. And I shut off the always start on a new row. It's going to try to fit there. And as my screen shrinks down, shrink, 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 a little bit more. It should, yeah, it should respond and move down to the next line, which it did. But you might choose that you want it to have it happen on a new line anyway, and you can do that by, what's my thing reflect, oops. Hang on, let me just refresh this view because I kind of messed it up here. Okay. Go back into dashboard. This takes a minute because it's fetching all of those records from the server. Go back into country view. You'll see, hey, what happened? It's gone. And that's actually an important point. Much like all the rest of TransForm, like when you're doing form designs and stuff like that, those changes only affect your browser. So if you want to save your changes, you're going to have to click this little orange button when you make a change. So let's quickly add a new one. We're going to edit it. We're going to change it to a chart. We're going to make it 100% wide. We'll make it medium tall. We're going to say it is going to start on a new row, and we're going to go city as our field. And I'm going to go save. Oops. Oh, one other thing I forgot. I want to edit this and choose only form IDs of the invoices type. And save. And that should fix my graph too, but it didn't. Click save again. Pop back in here, edit. No values to graph. Ah, that's because how to process data for the chart, I did not set that to display count of different X values. So that's saved. And now it is back. Okay, so we have covered sort of the basics of how to do the dashboard, but just as a quick review, dashboards, which for some weird reason right now are being called reports, show up in here, in this drop down. You can have some that are assigned to you. You can have some that you assign share with the account, and you can have some that we're going to create for you automatically, but haven't yet done. When you set up a new one of these dashboards, you do it by choosing one that you already like and clicking Add New. It makes a copy of it. Once you have a copy of it, you can go into Edit and give that dashboard, even though it says Report here, a new name. And then you can use a custom filter, and you can actually do these are AND comparisons. So you could say I'd like it to be form ID equals invoices, but you could also say I'm only interested in this particular country or this particular. You can keep filtering it, in other words, further and further down. When you are done, the very important thing is click Save to change this. So now this is saved here in your report. And I think that's about it. Just a quick warning, there's no deleting your dashboards as of right now. Sizing you've seen, you can just adjust right inside the properties here. You can move these guys around here by using the arrow keys, which I've done here. And you can delete an individual tile by clicking the X. Oh yeah, there is one other thing I wanted to show you. Let's say you've built out one of these. Actually, there are two other things I want to show you. Let's say, first of all, I wanted to point out that even though I've used just a plain city as this, I could have done this as a type of calculation. It does allow TPL to be entered in here, basically for all of these. And I haven't gotten down to some of the additional filtering and sorting that you can do, which you can do. For example, you could only include countries in Europe and things like that, and it'll take a subset of that data that was first pulled down and use that to build the graph. The other thing I'd like to point out is that, let's say you set up one of these and you just love how it is, but you want to use it someplace else, maybe even in a different account. Maybe you want to share it with another developer. You can use this import-export link here. And what it does is it just basically gives you the JSON definition of this particular tile, which you can copy to the clipboard, and you can then paste in and click Update once you get it into the new account. Let me see, is there anything else here that I would like to do? We went over that fact that formulas are okay, how to move things around, how to size things, you can't delete, how to create a new one, the fact that the terminology is messed up. I think that's about it. So do we have questions? Let me pop down to the questions box and see if there are any at this point. There don't seem to be. So again, in the chat window, you will find the URL if you want to start playing around with this yourself. If you do have suggestions and recommendations, now is the time to get those in. So send them to tf@alphasoftware.com. So if this is a feature that you like and you'd like to have some say in how it gets designed, let us know. Without any further questions, it looks like we have come to the end of our time. Thank you, Sarah, for standing by and answering questions. Thanks for all of you who showed up. And we're looking forward to seeing you at the next Transform Tuesday. Take care and bye-bye.